Not cool, ZWO. Not cool.
Super creative.
We view the cosmos on the grandest of scales.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Welcome back to Rob Observatory. I'm Rob Lyons. Today we're discussing an issue I recently ran into around the ZWO fan causing vibrations in my astro images. It just happens that the night that I ran into this problem, there's a lot of discussion happening about it, and Quiv the Lazy Geek had just uploaded a video discussing this very issue. And so I'm not sure if that's coincidence or not that this happened to me right then. But the good thing is, thank you to Quiv and to everyone online who's been discussing this on cloudy nights, because I solved the issue the very next morning thanks to them, and discovered a few things along the way that I want to pass on to you in case you're having this issue. So what is this issue anyway? What are we talking about here? The fan inside the camera is causing enough vibration to elongate the stars in each astro image. Now, the way I discovered this is that I have a very long focal length telescope. I bought an Edge HD 8-inch a while ago, actually about 6 months ago. I've been trying to get the scope running, and between just a horrible winter and spring of cloudiness and several technical issues, I only recently got this going just like 2 days ago. And this was the main problem holding me back. So thankful we figured it out. So I want to show you what this problem looks like first. Here is a sub that helped me discover what this problem is. You can see the tiny little star trails, just making the stars stretched out and along. It looks like bad guiding. I thought that's what it was at first, but it wasn't. It was not guiding. It wasn't my collimation. I fussed over those things for many clear nights. I wasted a lot of time on that stuff when really it was this problem. And I had given up this particular night, sat down, I was going through my phone, and I'm like, what could be causing these elongated stars? And I found the issue being discussed. And sure enough, when I went and turned off my cooler, the stars sharpened up and were perfectly round. So I knew that that was the case. So the very next morning, I thought about contacting ZWO to get a replacement fan, but it was supposed to be clear that night. So I ran out and I actually bought, where are we here? I bought these guys, little Noctua silicone suspenders. They help isolate your fan from the camera body to reduce the vibration. And I'll show you what they look like here. So let's cut to a close-up. So these are little silicone suspension devices, and they just help absorb the shock. So basically a replacement for the screws that hold your fan in, shock absorbers. They did absolutely nothing to help my problem. Complete fail, didn't work. So I ran back out and bought something else, which is the Noctua NF A40 by 10 FLX fan. And I will link this fan down below. Spoiler alert, it did solve my problem. So it's down there, and it actually comes with more of those little suspension units, so you don't have to buy extra. These things are super cheap. I think I paid maybe $13 for this fan, and I ended up buying a few of them because I have more than one camera, and did solve my problem. So let's get into the fix, and I want to share some things that I learned along the way that aren't being discussed online. Hopefully they'll help you if you run into this problem. First up is that you probably don't have this problem. Don't panic. Don't think that your camera's broken. I think this is only affecting a very small number of cameras. I think just a tolerance on a few fans out there, like any device, especially electronics, a few of them are going to have some quality issues. And I do not blame ZWO in any way. This little Sunon fan, it's just not quite cutting it. And I bet you that the line between perfect stars and slightly blurred stars due to vibration is probably very, very tiny. So the tolerances on these type of things is quite close. So yeah, no blame there. And from what I understand, that if you have this problem and you're in warranty, you contact ZWO, they'll ship you out a replacement fan. They're really easy to replace, you guys. Don't be afraid. You pop your camera open and you can have this thing in like a minute and you'll be back up and running. So kudos to ZWO for taking care of their customers. I'll probably get one sent out even though I've already got this replacement. Just to have a backup would be nice, and maybe I can compare the two down the road if it happens again. Okay, second thing, this is very important. I shoot with 533 mm and MC Pro cameras. They're pretty small, good bang for the buck budget cameras. I got them on my Edge HD8. Great combo. The thing about this camera compared to some of the other ZWO cameras where this issue is being discussed is the size of the camera. So everyone on Cloudy Night's talking about this. They're talking about the 2600 and the 6200, which both have bigger bodies than this. And the issue is with the 533 is with the smaller chassis, there's way less space inside, less tolerance to swap out the fan. And when you see what you have to do to make it work, you start running into issues very quickly. And so here's what we're going to do. I've already replaced the fan in my 533 MC Pro. It's working perfectly. I ended up getting first light on my Edge HD. I'm so happy. 6 months of working towards this. I have an observatory ready to be built. I have very expensive permit applications in with the city, all based around this nice big, what I consider to be a nice monster rig up on my roof. And then I couldn't get clear stars for months, round stars. So the sense of relief I have right now that all of this isn't in vain and it was just a $13 fan, super happy. So here's what we're going to do. The color camera, the OSC is already done. The MM Pro that I have here, it doesn't have the issue. This fan's working perfectly, but I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to do this for you guys. And let's go ahead and dismantle this, and we'll swap out the fan in this guy so you can see some of the issues I ran into and then what I did to work around them and make it work. So let's get busy. Okay, step one, here's what you want to do. You're going to want to remove these 3 Phillips screws holding the back of the fan assembly onto the camera. Step 2, let's go ahead and open up the back here. As you can see, the fan is only held in by this one cable, and we're going to go ahead and unplug the fan. Put our camera to the side carefully, and you can see here we have our fan assembly and the back plate of the camera. Alright, next step, remove the 4 screws holding the fan assembly in place. Be mindful, there are a bunch of washers and little rubber gaskets on the inside holding things together. So just do it over a surface where you're going to be able to collect all those easily. And I warned you. So now that we've had our fan detached, it's time to go ahead and open up our replacement packaging for the new fan, see what we have to work with. So you can see here it comes with, of course, the replacement fan, the rubber silicone suspension rods to suspend the fan and keep it vibration free, and it comes with some cabling, and it comes with some adapters, and we're going to discuss that in a second because this fan is a 3-pin fan, but the ZWO camera is a 2-pin connector, so it does have the adapter included. If you are on the ASI 2600 or 6200, you can get away with using the regular cable and the adapter because you have space in the camera in order to fit all that in there. But if you're like me, you're on a 533, that smaller little camera body, there's not enough room to hold all that, so we're going to splice our cables. Let's go ahead and pull this stuff out and get it mounted onto the camera. As you can see here on the little suspender, there's a little groove here. And what I want to do is actually mount this on the outside of the camera instead of the inside. It's going to give us a little extra space. And this piece goes on the outside, and you're going to be able to get this little groove in there. And it's a really nice mounting point. So it's going to give us a little extra space, and it's also going to reduce our vibrations. You can see the groove there. So we want to mount this in that groove. And what we have to do is actually just pry these a tiny bit wider to get them around our silicone suspension rod. So we'll go ahead and just open these up a tiny bit, and then we'll mount these into the camera. So now you can see we have our fan plate and our silicone rods inserted. And we are going to go ahead and drop this into the outer plate of our camera. So let's go ahead and do that now. So go ahead and pull these right down until they're all the way in. Let's go around, cinch them all in. We'll hug those right up to our outer casing here. And now we're ready to mount our fan. So now that we're ready to mount our fan, just a reminder to keep the wires pointed down towards the model number of the camera. So this is like the bottom, this is the bottom, and then the label would be facing the inside of the camera. So you want the unlabeled side facing out like so. I took these little ready orange gaskets that were on the original camera, these little silicone guys, and I put these on here so that we're going to have a little buffer between our fan and the metal plate here. So I don't know if it actually does anything. There's not enough space in the camera to actually suspend our fan lower. It's going to be hugged up pretty close to the top here. So by placing these little gaskets in, it's going to give us just that little bit of buffering we need to not vibrate the body of the camera. So let's throw those on and then the fan. Okay, you can see that I have those little rubber gaskets in place now that came with the camera, and we're ready to drop our fan on and have that nice little buffer zone to help isolate the fan even further. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just pull our fan down, and we're going to snug it up nice and tight with our plate here. So go ahead and pull these through. So ideally, you'd leave a huge gap like this and have it really isolated. And we may have to snug ours up even tighter than that because of how little space there actually is in the camera for this. If you look at the fan when you take it out, it's snugged up right up against the plate and it's very tight. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to push this all the way. That's why I put the little red gaskets in to create a buffer and it won't actually be touching. And there's even a little bit of rubber on the corner of the fan here. That brown is rubber. So it'll be rubber on rubber, silicone on silicone, and should do the trick. So let's take it a step further. It's really hard to get it off after this, so you want to make sure that you got everything done perfectly at this point. We'll just spin it around. And yeah, we're just going to eliminate that little gap there. Bring it in all the way. Look at that. Nice and tight. Nice and dampened with that silicone. And we're almost done here. So one of our last steps, we've pulled this out quite a ways. There's not enough room, obviously, for these large silicone pieces. So what we're going to have to do is snip them nice and short. So we're going to cut them off at the bottom one into nice little nibs because there's no space to play underneath. We do not have room for a lot of this to be sticking out. So hug them in nice and tight. Make sure they're really secure and they're sticking out. And then we'll go ahead and snip them off. I'm snipping these off, but you know what? I'm probably going to come back and cut these guys even tighter in a moment because literally there is like no space to play. So let's clean them up just a tiny bit because I already know. You want to leave enough that they're going to stay in, but you want to make sure that they're nice and small. Wow. Just pushing it to the limit on that one, aren't we? And there you have it. Our fan is nicely mounted, nicely isolated. Everything looks great. From my experience in the last one, we did this just the same way. Everything's perfect, ready to go, except for this. So we need to talk about this. This cable for the 533 is much too long. There's not enough room inside the camera to store all of this cable. And that's not all. There's actually another adapter to go from this 3-pin to 2-pin, so it's even bigger. But I tried a lot and I couldn't get it to fit. So if you're on one of the bigger cameras, 2600, 6200, I think it's all going to fit. I don't have one to test on, but that's what I've heard. It's not an issue. Plenty of room inside. Don't even have to cut this stuff as short. But for our camera here, we are going to have to cut this cable and splice it. So what we're going to do, I think, because last time what I did was I cut this cable and I went to the adapter. So let me grab my adapter here. And this is my 3 to 2. So you can see it's rather chunky. It's a chunky boy, as they say. So there's not enough room for that big brick. And so what I did was I spliced the two cables and just ditched the yellow, which is for variable speed. So I just did the ground and the power, which is the red and black cables. And these cables are still kind of big. So what I'm thinking this time, from what I learned from the previous experience, is that where's my Sunon fan? I think what I'm going to do is take the old fan and cut this nice thin cable and just splice that on down here. And just go that way because it's a much better way to go. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and chop these cables right now and strip them down. And I'll just show you a little bit about that. I do it pretty ghetto. So here we go. So literally I am just going to cut this off with a pair of scissors as tight as I can to make sure I have as much cable as I can. I'm not very good at this sort of thing, so I might need a little extra cable if I mess up. There we go. So yeah, I think this cable is a much better choice, much thinner, much smaller, and I'll go ahead and strip that down and add it in. So if you're anything like me, I think the thought of splicing cables might seem daunting. I am not an electrician. I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't do this sort of thing. But desperation led me to this. So, I mean, if you're an astrophotographer, I'm sure you know that you'll do just about anything to get your rig working. So all I did was I just gently kind of flayed these cables like so. So you just kind of gently strip the cables, and I couldn't find my good knife, and this one still worked. So yeah, I just gently work the plastic until we can get enough to go with the other one. So on this side, we only need our red and black cables. So the red is our power, black is our ground. Yellow is for use in like computers and things like that. You can get the variable speed. So I'm just going to snip this one nice and close to get it out of our way. Because, yeah, we don't need this yellow cable at all. So we'll get that out of our way. So now we have our cables stripped and ready to go, and all I'm going to do is splice them together by doing a nice twist. So I'm going to put our cables together like so. Sorry, razor thin depth of field here, you guys. Very hard to focus and do this at the same time. I'm just going to go ahead and twist our wires together. Give them a nice coupling like so. And now I'm just going to wrap it with a little electrical tape. Alright, you guys, you know, I'm sure that some of you at home know what you're doing with this sort of thing. I do not. And I bet some of you are just absolutely cringing watching how I've done this. But the truth is, I'm just doing what needs to be done to get where I need to go. You know what I'm saying? So I'm willing to just kind of wing it. And there we go. No more exposed wires. Pretty clean. Doing this on the cheap, doing this quick and dirty. So here we go. We're going to thread that back in there. And that's it. Our new fan is installed. It's isolated. We've wired in the original ZWO cable, which is nice and tiny. So let's go ahead and mount this guy back into our camera and get back to doing what we love, which is astro imaging. First things first, we're going to reattach our cabling. And you'll see there's some little arrows on the male side here. Some little lines that you can see right here. And those just go right in there. And then we're going to fold this guy over a little bit. Maybe we'll just loop it under actually. Because it is quite a tight fit to get this back in. And there you have it. Now we're just going to pop those 3 original screws in, and that is a wrap on this fix. And there you have it. We've repaired our fan vibration issue in our ZWO camera, and it may not be pretty, but it works really well. You know, like they say, if they don't find you handsome, they better find you handy. So there we go. So hopefully that helped some of you guys out. In case you're encountering this issue, not everyone is. You're probably not. And again, ZWO, if you're under warranty, they're going to ship you out a fan. Probably should do it that way. Stay within warranty. You don't need to void things. I'm a risk taker and impatient, so I went ahead and just fixed mine right away. I did have a thought though. Was I having this problem on my wider refractor and my Newtonian reflector before I moved up to the edge? Like, did I just notice it on this new scope because of the focal length? And I'm guessing, you know, probably yes. So what I'm thinking is, you know, for $13 for a replacement, for the peace of mind, it might be worth just upgrading your fan regardless. I don't know, it's completely up to you. If you don't see a problem with your stars though, there's no reason to do anything. But if your images, you think they could be a little bit sharper, I mean, maybe, right? I think the longer your focal length, the more you would want to consider something like this. You know, we spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy on making these images. We want to make sure they're the best that they can be. It would suck if something like a $10 fan was causing our images to be degraded and so easy to fix. Okay, so now if you're still here, I just want to show you my first light image from the new rig. Oh, what a relief. I've been working on this thing for 6 months. As you can see in some of the footage I showed you on my roof, I have an observatory ready to be built around this setup, and to not have a single image to show after all this time was excruciating, and I thought maybe I had made a huge mistake. I was in over my head and I should have just stuck with smaller, easier to handle scopes. But I got first light, and what better target to shoot to test if you're getting round stars or not than M13, the great globular cluster in Hercules. So this image was done over 2 nights. This is with the 533 MC Pro and the 533 MM Pro. I did a night of luminance, thinking maybe I could get more detail, better luminance values, sharpen things up, make it even better. You know, the second takeaway I have from this whole process, and I can share with you in this video, is that adding that luminance data I don't think did anything. I think the color image from the OSC camera was good to go. I think I actually hurt the image adding the mono data into it because it just washed out my image. It just kind of pulled some of the saturation. I had to add that back in and did nothing. So in the future, if I'm shooting broadband targets with an OSC camera, I don't think I'm going to go back and shoot mono, trying to add more luminance. On nebulas, obviously, and with narrowband and stuff, mono is huge, but I think with a purely broadband target like that, you know, a little extra time with the OSC and you're good to go. You don't need mono whatsoever. So second takeaway, I hope all of this helped you a little bit, and if so, if you have any questions, leave me a comment. Let me know your experience and if you've had this issue or what your thoughts are. If there's anything I could do to improve the process, if there's a different fan that might be even better, tell me about it. I want to hear about it. Until next time, guys, clear skies, and remember, don't take my word about any of this. I want you to get out there and see for yourself.
Super